Welcome to Ryan Recaps. If you like my content, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more awesome content. Our story begins at a rundown, rural town, and we can see that the walls are full of posters about stopping vampire attacks. We then see three goofy-looking men who are harassing some kids outside of a church. The little girl tells the goofy gangsters to leave them alone, and the gangsters proceed to tell her that they need the church pastor to sign some papers so they can continue some construction work. Then we see a girl with a plastic bag over her head, holding a bin filled with dirty water running toward the three goofy gangsters. Before the girl could throw the water-filled bin, one of the gangsters pulls on the back of her head, stopping her in her tracks. As the gangster is harassing the girl, we see the little girl and boy from the beginning telling the goofy gangsters to leave Hayan alone. Now we know that the protagonist's name is Hayan and she is getting her butt kicked by the gangsters outside of some church. The gangsters start to rip off the bag from Hayan's head when someone new steps in. Now we see a handsome-looking man with red hair holding a notebook and a cigarette to the gangsters' surprise. The man asks the gangsters where the nearest police station is, and the gangsters then tell the man to mind his business and go away. As the man starts to walk away, the gangsters start to yell for the priest to come out before they start using their fists, which then makes the man stop walking. The man then turns around and confronts the gang of gangsters, which make them back off. When the man turns around, Hayan can be seen hugging the two kids asking if they were okay. The man then turns back around and tells Hayan to just avoid the gangster scum. Hayan thanks the man and tells him that she knows the way to the police station, but the man says he already knows where it is. Hayan takes off the plastic bag over her face, and we see that she is actually very pretty and is definitely not a vampire. Hayan has lived in a church-run orphanage since she was 10 years old, and says that having troubles with gangsters are very common in the village. Hayan always spends time in her room reading books, even though her friends often ask her out to play. She tells the other two kids that she has a ton of friends, and is very popular in school when in fact she has no friends, and she is the biggest loner at her school. Because Hayan does not know the majority of the people she sees, she says hello to everyone. Hayan also frequently eats alone, which makes her feel very frustrated. As Hayan walks to school, we see a crime scene where a young girl has died due to being bitten by a vampire. Looking at the crime scene from the bus, Hayan covers her mouth in horror as the people around her also whisper about how cruel the accident was. The TV reporter explains that vampires are very new and scientists do not know whether the vampires are a result of a mutation. What they do know is that the vampires live among them and frequently appear during the dark. The TV reporter then says that the vampire murders are on the rise and warns the audience to be careful and to never ever encounter one. Later, Hayan is at a college get-together. She is playing many different drinking games, but has still not made any friends. Hayan plans to wait until she and her classmates get drunk, so they can be friends easier. After a while, Hayan still cannot get drunk as the alcohol is like water to her. Another student called Jang is being praised for drinking a lot of alcohol, and Hayan calls him and raises her glass to him, referencing the Leonardo DiCaprio. After Hayan and Jang have their alcohol competition, Hayan wins after drinking a table full of soju bottles, and Jang is left blacked out on his table. Hayan's classmates finally start to notice Hayan and ask her for her number, promising to invite her for studying or karaoke. As Hayan gets more comfortable and starts to drink some more with her classmates, sirens start going off outside and the get-together is unfortunately cut short. Hayan is left alone, and when she starts to go home, one of her classmates offers to walk her home. Hayan feels very awkward when she is walking with her classmate, and her classmate reassures her that there is nothing to worry about. Hayan's classmates ask about her past, but are cut short by more police sirens, and we see citizens furiously running away to their homes. Hayan tells her classmate that she will wait for the next bus home, but her classmate remarks that vampires are actually not a big deal at all. From a nearby alley, the gangster from before can be seen bullying another man. As the gangster is about to hit the man strikes and pierces the gangster's body, telling the gangster that he should have left him alone. Hayan is in shock from seeing the vampire, and her classmate runs away quickly, showing how he is just a quivering little sissy. Hayan is shocked that her classmate would abandon her and run away, and now the vampire has his sights set on her. As the vampire approaches Hayan, she is furiously trying to find what the pastor has given her. The vampire tells Hayan that crosses and garlic do not work on him, and Hayan retreats and calls out for help. The vampire shows off his strength, and Hayan can't do anything but wonder how she will get out of this situation. The vampire grabs Hayan by her ponytail and is about to bite her, turning her into a vampire. Just as the vampire is about to bite Heian, she transforms in her hair gray and hits the vampire so hard that she makes a big hole in his head. Heian reveals that she has been a vampire since birth. What an absolute Giga Chan. Heian jumps from roof to roof, so fast that it just looks like black streaks. Even the cat on the roof could not keep up with Heian. Heian jumps from the roof and onto the front of the church, looking all fine. She rushes to her room and after searching for a little bit, finds the crown of thorns that somehow helps calm her down. Heian transforms back and her hair turns black and laments about how difficult it is to live in a human society and how she just wants to live a normal human life. As Heian is finishing up her notes after a lecture at school, the professor comes up to her, gives her a cold drink and tells her he got it for her because she is a hard-working student. Heian and other classmates gossip about the professor and we learn that he is a young graduate and Heian really respects him. As Heian walks with her two friends, they ask her if she is okay and that she should be more careful after hearing about the vampire Heian saw the other night. Heian's friends say that there are estimated one vampire for every 10,000 people, and that there are probably two vampires at their school and possibly in their major, which makes Heian very nervous. Hearing people around her talk badly about vampires, Heian feels down. Heian remembers how she was always alone reading a book when she was younger because she was warned to not get too close to people for the fear of getting found out. She prayed every day for a friend until one day when another boy asked about the book she was reading and eventually became very close to Heian. One day Heian sees her friend all beat up, so she finds his bullies and beats them up. Her friend finds out that she was the one who saved him from his bullies, but thinks that she is a monster. Heian comes back to sense from her friends' voices and says that everything is alright. As Heian is walking with her friends, she runs into a senior which she has observed to be very bad and unruly. Heian's friends note that the senior's face is a little off and Heian wonders why that may be. Later, the senior is walking down a street, drinking water that is meant to water flowers and hallucinates when some underclassman asks if he is okay. The senior thinks about how trash his life has been, but then reveals that he is now a vampire. As the senior is admiring his fangs in front of a car window, the kind professor from earlier runs up to the senior asking how he is and gets into the car, ready to drive back home. The senior gets really jealous when he compares his life to the professor's and only snaps back to reality when the professor honks for him to get out of the way. The senior hallucinates again, thinking the professor and the underclassmen from earlier are mocking him, which makes him so angry that he strikes the car to turn it upside down, almost killing the professor. When the professor asks why the senior is doing this, the senior says that he has been given another chance at life and kills the professor. Later we see a group of students talking about what just happened. The senior has been put on the wanted list and the students talk about how the professor was such a good person. Everybody wishes that the senior gets put to justice and Heian comes away, looking very concerned. Suddenly all the students are called to an assembly and as Heian gets up to follow them, she glances towards a locker and we see the senior hiding in the locker, looking at all sus. We get a flashback of the loser senior's life, and then see the senior breaking the locker that he was hiding in and says that killing everyone is the solution. All the other students are now at the assembly area, and one of Heian's friends wonders where Heian is. The senior gets ready and bursts into the assembly area ready to kill everyone. But as it turns out, the senior went to the wrong assembly area, and the room he went into was all empty. The senior wonders where everyone went and sees the poster on the podium which tells him to go to another hall. Meanwhile, the students at the assembly area are asking the professor if he changed the meeting area, which leaves the professor very confused. Arriving at the deserted assembly hall, the senior wonders why the assembly area is a hall that is planned to be demolished by the school. Heian then steps out and the senior questions who she is. Heian asks the senior why he killed the professor, and when the senior gives stupid answers, Heian tells the senior that he should turn himself in. The senior, dissatisfied with Heian's words, strikes Heian and gloates that the punch was the best he has ever thrown. Heian suddenly appears behind him and dodges the senior's advances. The senior realizes that Heian is also a vampire and asks about how she is dealing with drinking blood and asks Heian to take off her mask or he will kill her. Heian taunts the senior some more, which makes the senior very angry and to suddenly punch Heian over and over again. We learn that a vampire's strength doubles depending on how strong they were originally. We learn that the senior was turned into a vampire during a party where he blacked out after drinking too much alcohol. A mixed blood vampire's life expectancy is only 5 years, but by joining the group Angel of Death, they can prolong their life indefinitely. After receiving the senior's punches, Heian gets back up and asks the senior if that was all he got. Surprised that Heian is still standing, the senior looks at his hands to find that his fingers are all messed up with his bones showing. As the senior is on the ground squirming, Heian asks why he did all those atrocious acts, and the senior gives a long-winded backstory of his life. The senior then attacks Heian, saying that vampires have regenerative abilities, and he was just acting the whole time. Heian simply tells the senior that she will make sure he does not regenerate. Heian catches the senior's punch and flips him really badly. Just as Heian fricks the senior up really bad, the senior remembers a warning that other vampires have given him. The other vampires warn him to watch out for the white-haired vampire, because he will be as good as gone if he does meet them. The building starts to shake as Heian beats up the senior and ends up holding the senior over the top of the building, with the senior begging for Heian to spare his life. Heian tells the senior to die and smashes his head into the ground so hard that the senior turns into dust. Heian then turns around and walks away, looking like a badass. The next morning the police are seen investigating the incident, and we finally see the red-haired man from the beginning stepping onto the scene.